Hello and welcome to another part of the ARCHLine.XP interior design webinar series. Today we are going to look at bathroom design and we are going to look at how to create tiling and tiling patterns. My name is Zoltán Tóth, your host today. I'm working at ARCHLine.XP. I'm the partner manager and I'm also personal CAD and modeling enthusiast, so I love creating things. So I'm not only going to show you how to create this, but I'm also going to tell you a bit about the tricks and the shortcuts you can employ to sort of speed up your workflow, because modeling is always about speed. As always, I'm encouraging you to ask your questions on the right hand side next to the chat bar, or if you're watching from a mobile device, then just below the show that you see here, there's a chat surface and there you can ask your questions. Today's session is actually the third part of a webinar series. If you go to our website www.archlinexp.com/webinars, then you can see that we have a whole set of shows planned already. So this is what we have today, and previously we had a show about a reception room design and the basics of CAD drawings. And also we have a couple of other shows coming up regarding kitchen design, documentation, lights and rendering. So this 7 shows all together are able to cover you the whole interior design workflow. And once you have completed these shows, you would be able to create very simple interior design spaces. If you want to follow along, I suggest that you download the webinar files that I'm using during this show and also download the course guide. The course guide is a comprehensive PDF guide, I'm just showing you right now, which shows you all the tips and tricks of how to use the software. Let me just close this so I can just turn the pages. So everything I have done so far is detailed in this course guide. I'm trying to follow it step by step so you can follow along once you have downloaded this and the other content as well. Okay, but today what we are going to discuss is going to be bathroom design. Now, where we want to get to is this, a rendered image of a bathroom space. We are not going to render it, but you get the idea of why I'm showing you this. So just an understanding, when it comes to bathroom design, the most important thing that we have to get clear is how to create tiling and tiling patterns, because they are going to make your design much more accurate. Now, you might say that the same result can be done by using textures, but today I'm going to show you the benefit of using actual real-world 3D tile models. Now, without over-explaining this, because I always believe in showing instead of, talking about things, this is the bathroom in which we are going to work. So this is the final stage of the bathroom. I'm using the page up and down keys to navigate around the space so you'd have an understanding. It's not a big bathroom, but it's quite a cleverly done one. So there are actually 2 wash basins, which I love. And also there's a sauna in the back. So I think this is a very good little location. So that's what we are going to work on today. But we have to load up the starting position, and something I have never showed you is how to open up another project. Let's assume that you are in one project and you want to open up another one. You do that by going into File, Open Project, and then you get to a folder where once you browse the file that you're looking for, you just click on the project that you want to load up. I don't want to save this project now. I'm just going to discard it. I'm sure I want to quit, and another version of the project loads up. Okay, I'm going to use the software now in millimeters. That's just a quick disclaimer. If you want to use any other units, you can set it up under the cogwheel and go to units and angles and set it up there. But for now, I'm going to use it all in millimeters because that's what my course guide is telling me. Okay, once we have the file set up, we have to get started with the tiling. Now, what I said in the beginning, tiling is done with actual 3D bodies as opposed to textures, and that gives you a tremendous amount of edge, because then you can get quantity takeoffs. But I'm not going to jump ahead with that one. First, let's investigate how to quickly, tile one wall. Let's just go to the 3D, magnify it, and go to the perspective view list, which is up here. And if you click on bathroom number 1, that's the view what we are going to spend most time on. So I'm just going to hit OK. So my task is actually to tile this part over here. So how do we do that? We have several ways to do it. The most important, the simplest way to do it is that we go to Interior, Tiling in 3D, like this, and just click the wall, and this dialog appears. I'm closing this now because I want to show you another way. It depends on which one is more convenient for you. So just click on the wall that you actually want to tile, right click, and go tiling on wall side, and all walls. And if you do, this dialog comes up where you can define what kind of material, what kind of sizes and shapes, and what kind of row shifts you want to work with. So what we have in mind is a certain type of tile, so that we have to load up by clicking on the material tab over here, and we have to browse for the content. That content is currently not in my model, so I have to find it somewhere else. I can find this search bar up here, and I'm going to look for a material which is called House of Tones White, and the size is 898 times 328. Now this comes with the installer, by the way, so you should be able to find that too. Okay, this is not really it is a material, but it has a certain size, which as a benefit I don't have to resize this. So okay, I have the tile now, and I have its sizes, so that's so far so good. What is left to do? I have to define on the grout, which is the depth between the the tiles, and also I'm not going to just use it as a bunch of tiles. I want to create a row shift, which I can do by adding a row shift here. So I'm going to say that this is actually a 200 millimeters offset between the rows, and then I would have a very nice shifted view. Let me just change the background area. Now the background area is going to be the part which is sort of behind my tiles. You are going to see that later on. It makes more sense when we proceed. And the material for that is going to be a bronze-ish material. Okay, here we go. And let's see if there's anything else to set up here. I think I'm done with this. So I'm just going to click that I want to tile the whole area. And this is the result. By the way, if this doesn't update by itself, you have to click on the update button, and then it gives you a preview of how the result should look like. One thing I don't like, I want to have vertical rows. So I'm just going to click on orientation, and I'm going to flip it left. Oh, that's the one I'm looking for. So okay, let's hit OK. And what happens is that all the walls are now tiled. Now you have seen that the software took its time to create these tiles. That is because these are actual 3D bodies. If I zoom in, maybe you can see the grout. So you see that these tiles have thicknesses. These tiles have mass and substance. And the reason for that is because, for one, it's going to look great on renders. And for the other point, it's going to have actual amounts. So if you want to know how many whole and cut tiles you need, then you would be able to create a sort of quantity takeoff of that. Okay, so we have one wall figured out, and another thing we have to do, we have to tile the floor, which we are going to do similarly. So we are just going to click on the floor, which is actually a slab, right click, tiling, and tile full area. And now the software asks me, do you want to use the same tiles as you used before? The software remembers that. No, that's not what we want. We want to go back to material and use the same kind of House of Tones set, but another size. So I'm just going to say again House of Tones, and what I'm looking for is a rectangular 598 piece. Yeah, that's the one. And I don't know, do we want a row shift? I don't think I do. So I'm just going to disable the row shift, and orientation here, it doesn't really matter because these are rectangular pieces, but you could set it back if you want. Okay, so here hit OK. And now there's an extra point here. The software tells me, okay, you want to cover this area only. So now you have the benefit of using one corner point with which you can place down and orient your tiles. I'm not going to, let's say I can do that. I can just move here. And let's say that I want to start from this corner. So I click once, and then I can decide on the orientation. I'm going to use it orthogonally like that, and again the floor is tiled. So that's the easy way to do it. I'm going to use something more elaborate because this is pretty bland, so I need to have some kind of other style, if you like, sort of tiling, which is one row a tile like this, and another row of a different tile, and another one, and another one. So that's something what we have to set up, because now we're using the same tiles on the walls and another type on the ground, but I need to have some kind of row distribution. So how do we do that? First of all, let's go to tiling and say that I want to create a tiling style. I do that actually by the properties. So if I want to set something up before I start working it, always go with properties and tiling. And now the software tells me that this is actually a tiling style. Do you want to use it or do you want to change this? Well, we want to change this because it's just, you know, a bunch of black tiles. I don't like it, so I'm just going to change it to something else. The tile style manager works a little bit similarly to creating a multi-layered element. You have to create the layers one by one, which I do like this. So first, we have one layer over here, and its total height is up to 600 millimeters. See the software updates. And the tile itself should be, and here I have to browse for another tile. The tile should be, I think it's House of Tones 598. 598. I'm going to look for it again. So this actually amounts to 2 rows, I think. Yeah, so let me just hit OK. So now I have 1 row actually of this. And here comes the next row. How do I add that? I click Insert New, and if I do that, the former row is going to be copied. So now I have another row, which is going to be, starts from the 600 value and goes all the way up to, so its height is 330. And the material for it should be another one, another tile of the same family, but this time it's going to be another size. House of Tones, actually, not tiles. This is what happens if you are one step ahead. So House of Tones, and the size is 893 times, yeah, that's the one. Okay. I need to rotate this, so I'm just going to rotate left. There you go. So if I hit OK, then I have another row like that. Okay, so far so good. I have these 2 rows already. But there should be sort of like a boundary of another very thin golden line over there. So I do that by inserting new and again resizing it. It's going to be 23 millimeters thick altogether. You see that the software tries its best to make it full with cut tiles, but that's not what we want. We will go to the tile manager and we are going to browse for another tile, which is going to be something which is called steel gold. Oh, sorry, steel goes with 2 E's, not 2 L's. Steel gold. That's the one. Yeah, hit OK. Orientation, I have to rotate it back because I want to make it horizontal. So original would be the one. Yeah, okay, this is good. If I zoom in, you see already this goldish line appearing. If you want to create a row shift, you can do, but now I like that the grouts are lining up. Okay, the 4th line is going in, so I'm just going to hit OK. And again, if you see that the 3rd line was duplicated, but now I'm just going to change it to something else. Height should be, now this is going to be a high one, 16050, and the material should be again one of these House of Tones items. Just a second, House of Tones. Yeah, and the size is 898 times 328. That's the one. Yeah, perfect. So this is, I think, good. Just hit OK. And are we finished? Well, not really, because there's an empty space over here, and I have to cover that somehow. Well, what do we want to cover it with? Definitely not with tiles. We want to add a background, a painted area. Why do we want to add that? That is because if I would accept this and place this down, then whatever I'm covering my walls with, it's going to affect this part as well. So I want to make sure that this part stays white no matter what happens. So how do we do that? We add another row, which adds another set of tiles. But for now, I'm going to disable the visibility of these tile rows. So now it's gone. So all I have to do at the tile grout, I have to recolor to something else, which I can do with something whitish. So I'm just going to go and add white. Bright white is fine. So again, I'm done with this. Okay, what do I do next? I have to save this style because I want to make sure that I can use it some other time as well. So I'm just going to hit this, which is the name of the original style that I was using. And I'm just going to say, I want to give a new style, which I have to name, and there's a special name for this. So let me just look it up real quick. The name is Tubadzin. And the folder, now the folder, you can define these things depending if you want to create subfolders, maybe a webinar folder or something. Not going to add in any subfolder, but here's a very important switch. Do you want this style to be available on this project only, or for all the projects that you're making? and both options have the benefits, but now I'm going to go with available on all projects. And from now on, if I go to the, let's say I want to tile this wall with a new style that I have just created. So first I have to click on the wall, right click, and say I want to delete all tiling from this wall. Let's make it gone. Okay, here we go. This is good. And now I want to create a wall, or the wall is already there. I want to tile my wall with the style that I just created. So I'm going with tiling and select and place a tiling style on all the walls. And now I have to, well, I could browse from the tile list here, but the software always loads up the last created one. So I'm just going to hit OK. And now the program is going to tile all my walls with the recently created tiles. Yeah, that's a very good tile style, by the way. You see that there's different patterns and there's a golden barrier between the two tile styles. And you see up here the painted area. So no matter what happens with this drawing from now on, the painted area is going to stay white. But there's a few things we still have to sort of figure out. By the way, if I hover my mouse over tiled areas, you see that the software highlights things with a bluish line set. If you don't want that setting, I like it because then I can see where my tiles are. But if you want to disable that, you can do that by going into properties and cursor and marker, and there's a pre-selection button. If you disable this check mark, I'm not going to do it, but if you do, then the bluish selection rectangles are going to be gone. So this is where we are now. Next task, we have to tile one of the floor pieces. Or what should we do first? I think we have to edit the tiles that we have on the floor down here. Meanwhile, I'm just looking at the chat bar real quick to see if there are any questions. They are, so that's very good. Keep the questions coming. So from now on, what we want to create a tile shift on the ground. So what do? We hit right click and we say edit tiles, which brings us back to the beginning of the tile editing surface. So what do we want? We want to add another reference line for the tiles, so like an insertion point, which I can do like this. I want the tiles to be inserted based on this point. The orientation is going to be original, just to be sure, and we are adding a row shift of 200 millimeters. You don't have to type in the 200 the millimeter signifier. You can do that without it. Hit update, and I'm liking what I see, so I'm just going to hit OK. And now the software tells me, okay, you just change the orientation. How do you want to place down the tiles? So I'm just going to use one of the existing tiles like that, and direction like this, and now the tiles are created. Are we done with this? Well, not really, because if we turn around, which by the way I do with right click and moving my mouse, if I turn around I see that there's a slab piece over here, this kind of higher area, which has not been tiled before. So what do? We are just going to right click on the slab, and we are going to go with tiling, tile full area, and we are going to use the same thing. And here's a trick I have learned. So if you want to make sure that the grouts are going to be running parallel here and here, then use one of the existing tiles that you have created. This would allow you to sort of, how should I say, define how the tiles should run. I hope it makes sense. So what I was saying is that when you are deciding how the tiles should turn, you can define the orientation even when you are not hovering the mouse over this area. Let me just undo this real quick and show you it again. So highlight the area, right click, delete all tiling. And again, if I right click on this area, I say tiling full area. Okay, now I can't do it there because then how would I know that they are going to line up? So I'm just going to use an existing tile up there and define on the orientation. No matter I do it here, it's going to be created there. So I'm just going to hit OK. And now the grouts are running parallel to each other, which is actually one of the tips I always recommend when you are trying to make a realistic render. That's always good to sort of make things realistic. So next thing, we have to create, I don't know, something more interesting, because this is getting pretty bland. So we have to have one wall which is sort of breaking up this monotony of things. So let's start with this shower over here. So I'm not sure if there's any perspectives with this shower, but let me just navigate back and forth, and that way I can find maybe one perspective, because according to my course description there is. Yes, that's the one. So if I if I want to retile this area, do I need to delete the tiles? Well, not really. You can just simply right click and change the tiling style. The software tells me, okay, this is the style. Do you want to change it? Yes, I want, and here's how. I'm going to delete almost all of the lines, and I'm going to keep one. It doesn't matter how high that is, because I'm going to change it back to, how high should it be? 2600. Okay, this is now a mess because there's only one line and there's that, it doesn't look too good. But if I go to the tile sort of setup, I have a tiling pattern switch over here. What does this do? Well, first of all, it has a set of predefined patterns. For example, if you are looking on floor coverings, this might come in handy. But what we are looking for is the mosaic tiling. Now, what does this do? What it actually does is that you can find up to 4 different tile colors with which the software is going to tile a certain area. I'm going to go with a mosaic tile with a hexagon with sizes which are predefined, and I have to set up 4 materials. And what these should be, let's start with this actually. I'm going to change this to something like a blue glass tile, blue glass number 2, yeah. And then the remaining 3 are going to be the, I don't know, what should that be? Let me just consult my chart. House of Tones. It doesn't really matter which one I choose from the ones which doesn't have any coverings. Yeah, that's the one. And I'm just going to use the same one again. House of Tones. Yeah, and the 4th one should be something else. So I think this should be, but again, you can, you know, experiment with this one, because this is where modeling comes into the picture, when we do less mathematics and more art. So integrally light, oh, that's not the name, light gray, light underscore gray, I think is the one, or gray with a, yeah, which one should that be? Let's use another one. A grayish color is what I need. So yeah, I think this is light gray. This is good. That's the one what I was looking for originally. So here I can set up the distribution of the tiles, so I can shift one in favor of the others. I'm just going to set this back to 25 because I want to create like an even distribution. I want to create all the elements. I don't want to disable them. So I'm just going to hit OK. And I think before I do anything, I need to sort of save this into a tiling style. Now the software is thinking, because what it does is that it starts to draw out hundreds or thousands of tiny tiles. So this might take longer, but the reason why it takes longer sometimes is that these are all individual 3-dimensional elements. Imagine the number of surfaces. Well, the software doesn't care about the number of surfaces at this point because it can manage. But if you have a slower computer, then you might want to invest into a new processor or maybe a RAM. Okay, if I want to save this, I click on the style name again. And here I need to save it under another name because if I say modify, it's going to override my original style. I don't want that, so I'm just going to hit OK. I'm in new. And the name is going to be Two Beds in a Mosaic webinar folder. There you go. So now I have another one. And now the software is applying this style onto this surface. But here's a very clever trick I have learned while using this tool. Once the software has created the tiling style, it takes a while because it has, you know, many surfaces. Then you can just change how it looks. So if you don't like the current distribution, let's say I'm not fond of this particular distribution, then you just click on the style and apply it on the wall again, and then the software is going to redistribute the tiles. So you see it's keep on changing. If I click on it, it changes, so it always sort of adds in the latest or another assortment of tiles. This is always randomized. So this is always something that the software comes up with on the fly. Now, once we have created that, there's another way to sort of make your visuals a bit more interesting, and I can do that if I zoom in. You see that if these tiles have certain patterns, but they're always placed down with the same direction. Let me show you another example, something with which I can show you what happens if you are using tiles with patterns? Let me go to the object library and type in the name of one of the tiles I like to use. His name is Kalakatta. Sorry, with one C. Here's the one. So if I grab onto this element and I'm dragging and dropping onto the surface, the software asks me, okay, here's a quick reminder. Last time we looked at how to replace one material with another one, but if you're adding a material, sometimes you are prompted with this. You can add a tile as a tile. So this is a shortcut. You just click on the element you want to tile, and then the software does it. Okay, but here's one problem. All the tiles are oriented the same way. So this is almost never the case. So whenever a professional is laying tiles, he knows to rotate the tiles, because if you are keep on putting them down the same way, the same direction, then you are ending up with something bland like this one. So you have to sort of recreate reality by randomly rotating the tiles. And how is that done? It's done like this. You have to open up the tile's properties, right click, edit tiles, and here's a switch for randomization. And if I hit OK, then I can find another sort of insertion point, which is going to be here. Define the rotation, and here we go. So now it's randomized. If you don't like it, you can randomize it again and again, just like with the mosaic. So do it as many times as you want, because otherwise the result is going to be, I don't know, boring. So this way you can make it a bit more interesting. Here's another scenario. Let's assume that you have a mirror over here. But you know, this mirror is not going to be like your typical wall-mounted one. This is going to be one of those mirrors which are actually built onto the wall. So what we want is that this area should not be tiled. Instead, it should be made with a mirror, which is sort of blending into this tile, to the tile style. So that way, the result would be much, I don't know, professional, cleaner, neater, if you like. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we have to get familiar with another tool, which is called tiling on the layout, because here it would be a bit cumbersome to find the right areas. So I'm just going to go with tiling, and I'm going to say tiling on 2D, and I'm going to choose the tiling on wall side button. And here the software asks me, okay, that's fine. Click on the wall that you want to edit, and I'm clicking on this wall over here. And now the program is going to lay down my layout like that. So let me just magnify it. What is this actually? This is a two-dimensional representation of the tiles that I have on the 3D. So now I would be able to edit the tiles, removing them and moving them actually. So what do I need to do is that I want to create one area over here which is completely clean. So how do I do that? I go with Add, Rectangle. And now I'm just going to draw one rectangle over here from this corner all the way down here. And the software tells me, okay, now you have to define what kind of material or background area you want to sort of fill this area with. I'm just going to say this should be a whitish part, bright white. And what happened now is that this area is filled out. So if I go to the 3D and look around you, I see that this area is now clean. So all I have to do, I have to create one mirror over here. Now you might ask, why did I delete this first and then I add the mirror? It's because if you don't do that, then you might have duplicates. So instead of having one mirror and nothing under it, you might end up with mirror and tiles under it, which might give you false information, inaccuracies when you are making a tile consignation. So let's carry on with this. I click on the layout, right click, and continue tiling. And the next thing I have to do, I have to add tiles. So I add the tile, highlight the area onto which I want to add a tile, which is going to be this one. And now the software tells me what is the size of the tile you want to add. Well, it's a bit tricky because I don't want to add many. I want to add one huge tile, which is going to be a mirror. So I do that by clicking on this tool. I'm going to define the tile by the number of columns and the number of rows, which is going to be 1, 1. So now I ended up with one single tile, and the size is going to be, well, much larger than that, 1800 times 1320. And then I have to change the material to mirror. Type in mirror, extra E. And the material should be mirror 03. Okay. And if I hit OK, then the software, I think mine is a bit small. So just going to, yeah, this is a bit small, so let me just do that again, because I think that wasn't the one I was looking for. So I'm going to add tile. I think I haven't hit, yeah, I haven't hit update when I was updating the sizes, which is a rookie mistake if you ask me. So 1800 times 1320, hit update. Now I have one tile, and I'm just going to hit OK, and here we go. So now I have a large tile with which I can cover this area. So I'm just going to line up the insertion points, hit OK, define the rotation, make sure it's not crooked, because then the result would be horrible. So I'm just going to snap to the other point, and there we go. So now we have one mirror to sort of represent the mirror over there. Now you might say that, well, Zoltan, this is not a mirror, I can't see myself in it. Well, in the 3D you won't see yourself in it, it has to be rendered, but believe me, this area here has a rendering style. If I click on this area, I could pull up the material properties, and you see that this is a mirror, so this should be like a reflective surface on the long run. So whenever you are rendering this, you are going to see that later on. So there's one other place, I think over here, which is a dresser. So I need to have another mirror over there. So I already have the layout. So what do? I magnify this view, because I like to work this way. So I'm just clicking on the layout, right click, continue tiling. And I'm just going to delete this part over here, which I can do by adding a rectangle again. And I'm sorry, another rectangle. I want, yeah, that wasn't the one. There are two ways to add a rectangle, and I'm just going to use this one over here. So here we go. So I think this should be a wall-to-wall one, but let me just consult my chart, and that way I can make sure, yes, it's from wall to wall. So like this. The material again will be white, bright white. And again, it's rinse and repeat. You can now add another tile, which I can do by clicking on add tiles, select the area, and everything is good except for the size. The width should be 1960, and the height is the same. So I think the height is the same. That's right. There you go. So just click, and it's gone. So now I have two mirrors, large mirrors, which are actually blending into the surface. So this is getting quite good, I think. So a much cleaner result than just putting a large image or object of a mirror. Okay, one other thing I have to do, because there's one inaccuracy in this drawing, and that comes with this part over here. Let me highlight the 2D for a second and grab my little perspective finder and move it over there. Now, like this. So the problem is, and again, I'm not resizing the windows, I'm decreasing the 2D, increasing the 3D just a bit so you can see things better. Problem is, I have one sort of wall over here, so that one, but it's tiled behind it. So this wall over here is tiled behind this element. That's not good, because if you are double tiling things, then you are going to end up with a massive amount of not necessarily tiles. And if you do, then you might have to buy more. And you want to be accurate even with the calculated loss. You still have to be counting with this. This is just a very sort of small representation, but this gives you the idea in terms of how to delete the tiles a bit behind this column over here. Well, we have one layout here, which we do by clicking on the no, let's do it another way. Clicking on the wall element, right click, and say you want to create the layout of this. Let me just find which tool is the best for that. Maybe tiling on the layout. Yeah. Oh no, for that I have to highlight it on the 2D. Just a second. If I say tiling on the layout like that, yeah, here we go. So now I have the layout over here like that. So I'm just going to place it above this drawing. And what I need to do is I have to find the. No, let me circle back, because this is not actually the one that I want to delete tiles from. That's actually the wall behind it. So that's the reason I couldn't do it. So right click and say tiling on wall side. There you go. So put it like this, and then it would line up. So if you position the door like or the wall like this, then it should appear. Okay, something I have to figure out here, because the software is not delivering what I was hoping for, so let me just do it some other way. Tiling on the layout, and here we go. So again, circle back. The best way to do it, and I'm just going to delete it, is to click on the wall that you want to tile on the layout, right click, say tiling on the layout, and put it down like this. So now what I want to do, I want to make sure that whatever is behind this part, it's going to be gone. So the best way to do it, for now I'm just going to say finish. The best way to do it is to go to drafting and draw two sets of helping lines like this. Here's going to be one, and here's another one. Okay, so I know for a fact that these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, well, 7 tiles should be gone. The other ones will be cut anyway, so I don't mind them. But these 7 tiles, well, that does a lot of damage to your budget. So let me just highlight the layout again, right click, continue tiling, and click on delete, and delete the tiles that you don't need. Here's another one. Don't forget about this thing over here. And I think it's good, so let me just hit enter. And now the tiles are gone. So seemingly nothing changed in the 3D. But a huge difference is made right now, because now these 7 tiles are not going to be included in my quantity takeoff. So that's what we wanted. If you want to close this, you just hit finish. Let's keep on talking about the layouts. The layouts are actually quite a handy tool for visualization, because that way you can show how the tiling, well, layout should look like. So the way it's supposed to the way it's supposed to go is that you click on the element that you want to show like this. So click on the wall, right click, and say tiling on wall side like that, and that would create well, it's the other side of the door, sorry about that. So you have to sort of detail the layouts like this. So click on that, right click, and go with just a sec. Yeah, this is something I can do in the 3D, not in the 2D. So let's say I want to create a style of this. So right click, and let's go with tiling on the layout, and then you just place down the layouts as you are creating them. So that's one of the layouts. If you want to create another one, or you get another one with the slab, you just click on the slab. Now I can't click on the slab right now because I have a wall above it, but you already know that with this jump list you can quickly find the slab. There are actually 2 slab pieces I think I need this one. So if I right click and I go with tiling and the tiling on floor tool, then you know these things are automatically created. You can push this back to the original drawing, but that's the way to sort of get visual representation of how your tiles look like. So now again, I could be going in and creating multiple multi-layered styles over here, but that's the general idea. But that's still not what we want to use for documentation later on, because we have a better way to do it, and that is called a wall view. If you go to documentation and you find a wall elevation tool over here, then you can create a wall elevation. Now, what is a wall elevation? Let me just show you. It does work a little bit similarly to an architectural section, but only for one wall. You have 2 choices. Do you want to create an image representation of the wall or a drawing representation? We are going to go with image, and click on the wall that you want to get a wall view of. So just click on the wall, and now the software tells you, okay, which direction you want to look at it from. I don't know if you see this orange arrow, but you make sure it's pointing from where you are to what you want to see, like that. And then define the depth of the width of what you want to see, and the depth. So depth is always good to trim it back a bit, because otherwise, for example, this I don't want the second plan to be in there. I just want to have the first one. Or if you are inserting a node, then even the second one could be ignored like that. So I don't want to have this very nice plant over here. So just hit enter, and the software tells you, okay, do you want to save this into an image? PNG is a good way to go, and the size 1080, I think that's good, and I want to place it onto the drawing like that. So you could be saving this as an external image. So in fact, let me do that right now. So let me just quickly browse to the folder where I have the webinar content, and then I can just save it and attach to my my documentation later on. So that's going to be like that. So I already saved it. And again, if you want to now get it into the design, then what you do is that you go to the to the image that you have created, like that, and just drag and drop it in. Okay, this is not going to be in scale, so the better way to do it is to actually create a wall elevation like that, image, viewing direction. Again, I have no problems with these plans, I just don't want to show them on the floor plan right now. So I'm in the wall elevation now, so let me just hit OK. And the drawing is placed. Now, one very important thing about this drawing is that it's going to be a vector, not a vector base, it's an image. So if you zoom in, you see that it's going to be blurry. However, if you want to draw additional things on it, you see that the software is going to snap to the points. So this is sort of like an in-between between a drawing and an image, because if you, for example, want to make a quick dimension, let me just do that real quick, like that, maybe like a length dimension like this. Let's say the total height of the tiling style, then is there. So you can measure onto this thing. So you can do dimensions, you can do additional drawings onto this. But the point is that these drawings are going to be representing your floor plan like that. So if you want to create a representation of what you have created, wall elevations, which are a must for an interior design project, then this is how you can do that. When I was beginning this presentation, I was promising you that one of the most important things of using real-world 3D objects as opposed to materials for tiling is that you can create quantity takeoffs of it. So that's what we are doing now. By the way, if you have selected anything, just hit escape or click next to it and it's going to be deselected. That's just a quick tip for you. So if you go to documentation and click on quantity takeoff, then you are able to get access to a wide variety of takeoff opportunities. I'm going to use Excel, and here now I'm going to go with a tiling option, and I can choose what I want to get the tiling schedule off. I don't have roofs, but I don't have to disable them. If you don't have these elements, then it's just going to be ignored. So I'm hitting OK. Software asks me, where do I want to save this tiling consignation? I'm just going to save it into the webinar folder, overwriting the existing ones, and the software is going to be thinking for a second, and then I have a whole list of elements. Let me just highlight. By the way, if you don't know how to do it, hit Control and make the shift or scroll inwards, and then it's going to be highlighted. I think you can see it better. First off, right off the bat, you have a list of items you have used, the materials, the name, producer if you have any, the sizes, and the total number of pieces and the areas they are covering. For all the single elements that I have using, I haven't used many tiles, but all the ones are now highlighted here. So that sort of gives you an idea of how many you have altogether, and how many full parts or full parts and fragments you have. And this is where it's important, where it becomes important to sort of cut the elements from here which you don't need, because otherwise it's going to be included. So make sure you have the accurate data. Page 2 is going to have a room list, which I don't have right now, and if you have any background areas, coverings, then this is where it's going to be detailed, and here are the tiles listed. You know, all the tiling properties are going to be here, so if you want to be accurate with your design, then this is how you do it. So like I said in the beginning, I'm not doing any renderings now because they are going to be a bit more time consuming, but the idea is that this is what you end up with once you have created the whole tiling layout. You see that you have a very nice mosaic tiling, and light reflections and everything are much better if you are not using textures, but you are using actual real-world tiles. Now, we have a couple of questions over here, so let's see them. Let me just circle back to the beginning. That was one question about the 3D warehouse to which we are connecting. Now, you should know that the 3D warehouse is made and maintained by Trimble, which is a multinational company rooted in the US. Now, it's their proprietary platform. So whenever they are making a development or when our software doesn't connect to them, that's because they made some kind of changes in their protocol, but we are always very quick to amend that. So with another patch, another version of ARCHLine, you will be able to access the 3D warehouse directly. If you don't access it, you can manually download the files from 3D warehouse as an offline copy, and then you can just drag them and drop them onto the project that you are working with. Okay, another question. How can I create tiling in just a part of the floor surface, for example, in the kitchen? Now, it's actually done with the same tool as I used before. So if I let me just delete this and do it like that. So if you have an element, let me just I want to highlight the slab like this. So if I'm going with tiling on floor like that, then the whole area is tiled. But if you want to edit the tile layout, then you can offset it back. So if you want to say that only up until to this part I want to have the tiles, then you can just offset it back, and then you can have sort of like an area which is tiled, another area which is not. So you can add an additional set of tiles over here. So if you have, for example, a kitchen and a diner which has a split area, certain parts are tiled and other parts are not, then you can do it like this. In fact, let me show you another trick. So let's say that this part is tiled, and I'm going to highlight the slab, and I'm changing the material for the slab, which is going to be, it's not going to be beautiful, but it gets you the idea. So I'm going to go with concrete number 3, hit OK. Then you see that there's a part of the slab where the original content is showing through, and there's a part which is already tiled. So this way you can make like a split room for a split row for a room. So that's the answer to that question. Another question: is it possible to reproduce the tile of a catalog by scanning and recreate it in ARCHLine? Yes, well, it can be done, but the images have to be very, very good. So whenever you are creating a tile, let me just open up the tile style again and show you how that's done. So whenever you are here and creating a rectangle based tile, let me just crank it up to 500 just to show you. So here you can add any kind of image, and here you can add any kind of size. However, if the image that you are working with, the photo is, if it's manufacturer made, then it's not a problem. So you can just load up the image, make sure you have the right sizes, and you are good to go. But if you made the picture, then you know the repetition of the tiles might be a bit less realistic because of the lighting. I'm not saying that you cannot take good pictures, don't get me wrong. It's just it has to be very goodly lit. So it's the best way is to get something from the manufacturer's own website, or alternatively you can consult the let me just open up our own showroom, because in our showroom we have a set of items you can work with. So if you go to the showroom, then here you can find tiles with let me just find it, with the actual like manufacturer pictures. That's what I meant. So as long as you have nice images and you have the actual sizes, you can do that. Another question: can you cut the tiles on the guidelines that you have drawn? Well, the same. Well, the answer to that, thanks for my colleagues who have just posted this answer. The tiles are automatically cut along the edges of a respective background area. Here's a question, another one. Are the tile objects automatically providing reflection effects for renderings, and can you adjust such reflections to suit? How does it impact on render time, and would it go to ARCHLine Live? Well, the answer is yes to all of them, except for the one which is starting with how. So whenever you have a tile like this one, and you right click on it and you say find material, and here's the material I was using for it. So here you see that there are render styles attached to it. So you can change the style to anything. You can crank up the visibility, the transparency, even if you have like a glass-like surface, brightness, reflection. So for every single surface, let me just maybe find this one. For every single surface, you can refine these things. Now, rendering time is influenced when you are working with areas like the mosaic one. Let me just find it real quick. So if you have a mosaic tiling that comes with many surfaces, so that would mean a little bit longer rendering time, because this surface has, this area has many surfaces, but it doesn't do that much damage. So it might obviously take longer than using an image, but since you have, imagine that you set up 4 different mosaic types with 4 different rendering styles. Imagine the result, how beautiful it should look like. It's just perfect. So let me just, again, just looking at the slides that I have over here, imagine how good they would look like. Yeah, it's neat. I love modeling. So another question. Yes, and rendering styles and all the properties that you have set up here would be exported into ARCHLine.XP Live, of course. question, how to customize and create a library of material textures for manufacturers. This is something that you can do yourself if you go to material and you find the tile folder. And here, if you have saved something to this library, then you can add subcategories, just like when I was doing it with the tiling styles, like this. You can have additional folders with the manufacturer names, and you can have tile styles under the folders showing the actual manufacturer's names. Well, I really hope that I answered all the questions. They are very good, and I would like to thank you for your attention in this one, because it's all these questions mean that the topic is on spot on, so you are interested in what I have to say, which is always good to know, that I'm just not talking to myself, but I have actual audience which is listening to what we have to say about ARCHLine and its interior design capabilities. That being said, the next topic that we are going to discover, and that is going to be tomorrow, is kitchen design. Now, what exactly do we mean by kitchen design? I mostly mean cabinetry, how to create something that they call carcass furniture. Furniture pieces which are made by panels. How to create a kitchen corner with worktops, wash basins, kitchen appliances, and how to make sense of these things. Because similarly to what we did now with the tiling, that you actually use real world items which you are collecting into a consignment, quantity takeoff, we are doing the same thing with the kitchen. So not only we are creating a cabinet, but we are also going to make quantity takeoffs of it. So that's going to be very exciting, because now we are just going to have like a cabinet list and all kinds of exciting stuff. So make sure you tune in next time, which is tomorrow, for kitchen design. If you missed the shows, you can rewatch them. Just a quick reminder, if you go to our website, you can find all the shows there. So if you go back to the website, you can see today's shows and the upcoming shows and the last ones. So make sure you follow the series, download the course content, and follow along, because that way you can learn much more than you could be doing by yourself. By the way, we are doing these shows for free, and it's going to be kept that way. So if you want to repay my time, then you might as well subscribe to our channel and like the video if you actually liked it. I'm not asking you to like if you didn't like it, but if you stayed around, then that means that you like what you saw. So see you tomorrow, and until then, happy designing, happy modeling, and tomorrow we carry on with kitchen design. Thank you for your attention.